seek power, you pay in blood.
You know, when I first picked up Ember for Conclave, I was really surprised at how good she was. And I really wanted to see just how good is Ember when you play Conclave. At first I thought she was just gonna be a really bad frame, but now I have my doubts. So to start things off, Ember in Conclave will have 145 shields, 110 health, 0.90 mobility, 1.10 sprint, 70 armor, and the standard 100 power. Her abilities, as you can see right now, will be Fireball, Accelerant, Fire Blast, and World on Fire, but with altered stats. Also worthy of note, her passive ability still works in Conclave. Now, Ember has one Conclave augment, which is for Fire Blast, Purifying Flames, removing up to 4 debuffs from friendlies that walk by the flames. Ember's first ability, Fireball, takes 25 energy to cast and deals 20 plus 20 damage. Now, in my testing against the Trinity, I found that it deals 76 damage, but based on shields, health, and armor, I'm guessing those damage numbers will vary, so expect some great variation between them. Now, this ability, it's pretty good. It doesn't do that much damage, but it can still chip away enemy health and shield, and can also stop them from regenerating their shield due to the fire proc. Now, again, not that good on damage, but it can heat seek, so even if you miss, then you won't have to worry much because it'll still seek out the target and hit them, which makes it pretty good considering that it only takes 25 energy to cast. Be careful though, because it can chew your energy if you continuously spam this ability, and honestly, I don't find it to be the greatest in terms of damage dealing, but you can definitely use it when you want to chew enemy health down or enemy shields, and just use it before shooting the enemy out with your weaponry. That's how I used Fireball, and it's pretty effective when you use it that way. Now, when should you use Fireball? Honestly, that varies based on the situation you're gonna be finding yourself in, but based on my opinion, which means you shouldn't take this for granted, I find that Fireball is really good when you need to go up against multiple enemies or you need to pursue down an enemy. Specifically, the second occasion, it's a really good ability because you can make sure that the enemy cannot regenerate either health or shields, and they're always on the run, making sure that you're the one that can shoot them and not them. But in the case where you're going up against multiple enemies, make sure that you know which one you want to take out first, because if you swap between both targets at once, you're most likely going to be killed without getting a single one of them. At the same time though, when you're hunting down an enemy, make sure that you are not the only one that is around you, because if there's someone else there, they might steal your kill, and it's not fun when that happens. At the same time, Fireball can be really useful when you need to take out an enemy, but you don't want to just shoot the heck out of Fireball in order to kill them, because at that point, you're gonna be wasting a lot of energy and the enemy might just get away. In overall, try using Fireball when you're up against multiple enemies or you're pursuing down an enemy. And at the same time, try synergizing it with your weaponry. It can be really good in such combos, where you chip an enemy health away and you just use your weaponry to finish them out. Now, let's go ahead and move on to Fire Blast. Ember's third ability, Fire Blast, deals 67 damage per second and 45 damage in the initial blast, and has a 20-second duration. It also costs 75 energy. Now, again, I found varying results on this ability's damage, and I think it's mostly due to the fact that the closer you are to the epicenter of the blast, the more damage it'll deal due to the more exposure to the damaging circle that you can leave behind. Now, this ability, it's really good, especially if you're going up against melee enemies, because those are annoying, and you definitely want those to be away from you. And This is one heck of an ability to take out melee enemies, because as they pursue you, you're just gonna drop down a fire blast and they won't be capable of getting close to you. And in the case they do, you're just gonna get them killed because of the fire circle that you'll leave behind. This can also be a really good ability when you need to take down anyone that is going towards an objective, or team play, because it can definitely synergize well with team play. Now, be careful, because if you cast it above the ground, it will cast itself over the ground, thus your damage ring will not be damaging enemies because they won't be in the ring. The ring will be above them. At the same time, if you get killed, that ring will disappear. So if any friendly is using that ring as protection and you get killed, they're gonna be in some nasty trouble because that ring will be long gone. Now, when should you use Fire Blast? Use it when you're up against groups, definitely. It can be really good when you're up against groups. And those few enemies that decide to jump into that circle will find themselves scorched in no time. You can also have good crowd control due to the initial knockback. And I find myself using it a lot when I just want to clear out a room of enemies by knocking them down or just knocking them all over the place. And overall, Fire Blast is a really good ability. It can do some decent amount of damage. It can also knock back enemies, so it's overall a really good ability. At 75 energy might be a little dicey considering you only have 100, but hey, we still haven't talked about World of Fire. Ember's fourth ability is called World on Fire. It has an initial casting cost of 50 energy and 8 energy per second it's active. It deals 45 damage per geyser, and it has 35% chance to proc a fire proc, dealing even more damage. It also has a 6-meter radius, which makes it kind of mediocre considering it's a fourth ability. 6-meter radius, 45 damage per geyser, 35% stats. I honestly find it to be really mediocre. Yeah, it can kill enemies, yeah, it can chip health away, but it's not that great. And overall, World on Fire is an ability I don't honestly use that much. Again, it took me 5 seconds to kill a Trinity, and in Conclave, where mobility is everything and pretty much everyone and their grandma will be running around, I don't think you're gonna get a guy to stand around you in a 6-meter radius for 5 seconds before you kill him. And I just don't find it to be a really good ability. It deals a good amount of damage so you can chip enemy health and shields away, but I just find Fireball to be a better one for that one. It's just not a good ability. I left Ember's second ability, Accelerant, for last because it can synergize with the rest of her abilities, so it'd be nice to know what the rest of them do before you actually apply this one. Accelerant has a 50 energy cost, and it applies a 1.4 fire damage multiplier. It has a 30-second duration and can be applied to a 10-meter radius. Now, this ability, it effectively increases the damage all of your other abilities do, and some weapons like the Zenistar or the Twin Basalt. For Fireball, it took it up to 106.4 damage. For Fire Blast, it took it up to 156.8. And for World on Fire, it took me 3 seconds to kill a Trinity. Now, this ability, it's awful. 50 energy to cast a second ability is good, but considering that you will definitely need to cast other abilities while you have this ability active in order to make use of it, or at least have a fire weapon along with you, it's just not that great of an ability. I overall find that Accelerant definitely is one of those abilities that you will not be using. I found myself only using it once, and that once I only had enough energy to cast 2 fireballs or not even 1 fire blast. And with the changes into ultimates, you couldn't even cast your World on Fire because you wouldn't even make any use of it. So in overall, don't use this ability. It's not that great, and it definitely needs some working on. Now, would I recommend Ember? Yes. She's a really good Conclave frame, and if you have her and you play Conclave, you should totally give her a try. Her chip damage and her capability of pursuing enemies and dealing damage over time is really good. She can be a nice frame to use if you're that player that has a pursuit style mode of play where you hunt down the enemy and deal damage to them at all times. Ember's really good at that. She doesn't deal a lot of damage to enemies, but she can definitely keep them from regenerating and pursuit them really well. And in overall, her abilities are good. Fireball is perfect, Fire Blast is perfect, World on Fire, as long as you limit its use, is good. And Accelerant, I'd suggest you don't use it, but hey, maybe you like it, maybe you want to use it. It's your playstyle. You get to choose how you use your frames. I hope you enjoyed my review on Ember, and I will see you next time.